Got You Covered, a true real estate podcast. We are an office of realtors that managed to learn from the best with the worst teaching techniques. However, we survived with stories and lessons to tell. The goal is to help skip the pitfalls while enjoying the laughs and lessons learned. So no matter the real estate woe, we got you covered.
I'm Ann Prazak, and today I kind of wanted to talk about we've been going over the basics of like 101 things you need to start with and kind of laying a foundation. And so we talked about last time in laying a foundation about the paperwork needed. If you're investing, all the paperwork that you need. And even if you're going into real estate and everything, you always want to meet with the accountant. You want to get your EINs, get your LLCs set up. Different states have different nuances. So even as a realtor, like Arkansas, all my friends there set up their own LLCs and that's how they get paid. But Texas doesn't allow that. So you want to be state specific on how to set up your business because you are an entrepreneur or an investor. Or even if you're buying a house, you might want to have it in an LLC. Like I did criminal work, for instance, and I don't like my property address being in my name because the more I moved up the criminal chain, like I ended up having one client that I wouldn't like to have my address. And so therefore, I have LLCs that will purchase the house I live in. So you don't know, it doesn't say like Virginia and Prazak LLC, they're different names you can come up with and concoct. A lot of people do initials, or you don't, like I said on the last episode, don't do it Virginia and LLC, or then you're still able to easily find it in a property search. But anyway, in laying a foundation, I think that one of the things I learned backwards was the concepts in The Go-Giver. And so The Go-Giver is a little story about a powerful business idea by Burg and John David Mann. I'm not going to give away the whole book or anything like that, but I would advise everybody to go read it because it's a really good book on connecting people and networking and thinking about kind of the big picture and really being service industry, which I think in real estate is that you play the role of helping. A realtor can do so much more than just like the paperwork of the transaction or opening doors and turning on lights. And we really get immersed in the city or, the area that we're in, that there's so many times that I've helped someone find a job, or I've met someone that is into yoga and I'm like, oh, you got to go to this yoga studio, or things like that you really want your client that moves into the area. I mean, you want them to love the town and place as much as you do, and you want them to bring something new to town and learn about them. And so it's not all just like transactional for me. And with my dad, it was never transactional. Like he always wanted to be all in your business, which is kind of where I'm saying I learned this whole concept backwards, is that he was big on wanting to know your lifestyle. Like, how do you live? Do you work late at night? Then you need this floor plan, or like, you're a big golfer. You're going to like this. And then he would be like, oh, you've got to meet my friend, this golf instructor. Like, and he would pair these people. And because you do meet all these people and you want to be their best friend. But at the same time, if you sell 65 homes a year, it's hard to be best friends with 65 people and have them to dinner and everything else. But you also don't want somebody to move to town and not have kind of a circle or their interests. Like you want to help immerse them as well. And so a lot of The Go-Giver is not just thinking about yourself, is that you get so much more out of relationships and things when you are connecting other people, and you are it's not really networking. Like you're just really putting two people that have the same interest together. And so I really, really like that concept because I think it's really nice for me when I'm thinking of doing a podcast and somebody's like, oh my gosh, my friend does this or that. it's helpful to bring in so many new ideas. And I think in laying a foundation in real estate is that a lot of realtors just want to come in, they just want to find a client and they just want to, sell, which, yeah, that's awesome. Like our job is to sell houses too. Yes. But I think that if you have this go-giver, like if you read the book and kind of practice these things, that you're helping your career, you're helping their career, and you're building better friendships and in a better community, because it's not just this, I mean, it's an interconnected web of awesome. So I think that, it's really important as an investor not to just be like, okay, you check these boxes, you're my tenant. Like, find out what your tenant's doing. You don't want to get so immersed in everybody's life that you're codependent and that you're like, oh, well, you need to work here and you need this and you're not making that. I'm not saying like get that involved. But if you do go to the next level, if you do learn your tenant's interest and maybe like put them in contact with somebody, or if they've moved here, tell them about good restaurants, like just try to be helpful. That goes so much further to open up the city to you, to learn about it, to learn about interest in everything. And so I guess in reading it, I was like, this is a really basic concept in some ways. And it's a little bit of a concept like, yeah, you should just do that. But I think that we forget to do it and forget the importance of it. And so that's why with starting the podcast and thinking of foundations and like what you kind of want to start with, I was like, automatically, this is a good way to get you started, because it's also a good way to ask for advice. Like if you are getting started in investments, there are local investors in your town, but just those resources and stuff you don't even realize exist are what end up leading to the next client, to the next thing. And then you're also working with people for yourself that's really nice, that you enjoy so much that when you do this, there is already like a referral type bond of someone you enjoyed working with. Then when they send their friend, well, you already like them, so their friend you're going to like too. So it pays back full circle in that. But it's also really neat to see that you put two people in contact and then watch their idea of where your two yoga friends are now both teachers and have created this cool gym, and that you're like, even if you secretly you're kind of like, I was a part of that. It's awesome. And it's really exciting. And I think that that's so important in getting started on real estate, is that the connections that you find in real estate, like it's not just a piece of land. It's not just a house. Like there's so much opportunity that comes from these things because of the people that you get to meet and the experiences. And you get so many different lives and worlds and walks of life that you get to encounter. And you just don't want to miss that. You don't want to just throw a lockbox on a door, get a check every month. And yes, you can do that and that'd be a business model. But I think you're missing a lot if you just take that avenue of like, this is a business, rent it. And you're not experiencing any of the fun part in my mind. And so Dad was a little too nosy, I will admit. He was always like, what do your kids do? Where are your parents? Like, tell me about this. And, oh, I got a friend. And then he was a little ADD. So he'd be like, let me call him right now. All right, we're all going to lunch. What's the plan? And I mean, he would like force people together. But I remember really one of my like best friends, his daughter, or dad was friends with their dad, and his daughter was a lawyer. So I was a lawyer. So we just had to have a lunch date. And mind you, at the time we were like 27. And so I go to lunch with her, and I don't know, she was looking for a place to live or something. And I was like, well, do you have dogs? Like, I have an extra bedroom. And she was just kind of snooty, to be honest. And so I was like, I don't know about this. So after I leave the said play date lunch that Dad insisted on, I called him and I was like, yeah, I don't know. She just seemed kind of, I don't know. And he's like, no, it just takes a while to get to know them, but they are good as gold. Like her dad is the best. She's the best. You're going to love them. So again, I like went to lunch with her again later and was like, I don't know about this. And then she started opening up, and she like has the best sense of humor. And then by the end of it, like we are both in each other's weddings, and she's one of my best friends. Every year we go like treat yourself trip because we watch Parks and Recreation. And yes, I'm dating myself, but like, I mean, just the simple like putting us together, I'm forever indebted to. I mean, I know he's my dad, but he does this to everybody. And so for that friendship, like it just cracks me up that his persistence with these things is he was already like living go-giver and putting two people together and then being like, yeah, y'all are, this is going to be good for y'all. But you know, it was, and she's awesome. And so I think this, you know, concept has even been worked on me and successfully. But no, I mean, I think too, especially if you have a client that's relocation, they don't know anyone. They're moving to a new town. So if you do kind of have another client that they have the same interests, it's really cool to connect people. Or I promote Toastmasters. I love Toastmasters. And so I think it's great if you say a lot, and I started it for court, but it was the most eclectic, random group of people that I got to know. And then they had all these sorts of different interests and everything. And it was just, it's a really fun club that I think knowing those things in your area that exist and going to those, like that again is really helpful in real estate because you want to know the activities, go to the events in town, like go to the wine festivals and check them out. And then if your client loves wine, like be sure when that's coming up, let them know. Like you can put in a CRM. It's really easy to put in a CRM and like in that you tag loves wine, like add a tag that says loves wine or different interests or certain games or certain things like the little fun facts you learn, huge Chiefs fan or whichever. And then once you have this huge database, you just click on it and then you just massively send out to all the wine people like, hey, this festival's going on. That's a simple thing to do, but it really means a lot to people because they're trying to get used to the town and don't know what to go to. And you can help cheat. You already know they like wine and you know the wine festival. It's like you're just putting these two little things together for people, but it really helps them like Texarkana. So I think it's, or your city, that I just think it's not just kind to do. It's just the way I learned to do it. And I think it's a awesome way to really get to experience real estate for myself. So that's been one of the crazy things when I read this book. I was like, oh my God, Dad does a lot of this stuff. And, you know, I don't know, he might have read the book and that's where he knew, but I don't know where it stemmed from, but I'm super glad that he does. And in getting started, I think that this is the best kind of business model is experience, get into it. Like get into your town, get into you're buying property and you're investing, get into that, like get into where you're investing because, you know, I know that it's about the return on interest and the numbers, but I think there's a lot of success and enjoyment in the other stuff, not just the numbers. So that would be my next tidbit is when you're working on your foundation, read this book. Get excited. Don't just read the things on how to sell. So, and then we'll see you next time. That's it. That's all for today.
Thanks for joining us. If you're interested in more content like this, make sure to follow us online. We got you covered. Hosted by Raffaele Realtors. Produced by McLean Media. Music by Jody Crump at Studio C. Thanks for listening to Got You Covered, a true real estate podcast.